Right, so finally let's look at part 5. Let's look at some of the results that we've actually seen to give us an idea of what's possible. And these are real-life measurements of Happy Readers projects using the monitoring and testing tools that we have just discussed. So I'm going to show you examples from 3 different projects. These are 3 countries with 3 different donors, different education systems and language policies, but using the same materials, the same methodology, and the same training. And we've measured results after 18 to 24 measurements, and all these tests are using the same test measurements so that we have comparable results. Again, we have our 4 measures that we looked at before. We have letters, word recognition, story fluency, and comprehension. These results I'm going to show you are based on word recognition. And this chart shows here the proportion of children who meet the literacy threshold of word reading. And we define how many words from a list a child should recognize to meet the threshold. We've tested 3 grades in the middle of primary school, generally the 2nd to 4th year of learning English. And we have a project from Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Malawi. And what we show here is at the baseline, we showed, and this is measuring girls who had, this is mentioning the literacy outcomes of girls, and in terms of the end line, it's those who had completed more than 4 modules of Happy Readers. When we started in Zimbabwe, we had a 46% literacy rate. In Zambia, it was 15%, and in Malawi, it was 24%. Again, this is in 2nd to 4th year grades, meeting a threshold that's really aimed at the 1st year of learning English. But again, apart from the Zimbabwe one, they were all fairly low, below 20-odd%. When we measured after 18 to 24 months of the program, we saw in Zimbabwe, girls who had completed 4 or more of the modules had a literacy rate of 93%. In Zambia, it had jumped up to 80%, and in Malawi, it was up to 74%. And these are phenomenal jumps in literacy. We look at many reports that barely see an increase, or where literacy rates are still often below 10 or 20-odd%. Okay, so that again shows the effectiveness of the program. But now we look at the hard bits. Fluency and comprehension are the difficult bits, because word recognition is one thing, but reading is a lot more than recognizing words. You've got to read fluently, i.e. fast enough, and understand what's being read. We generally find this comes from a very low start point. It's a much lower rate than literacy based on words, and is also much harder to improve effectively. And we find that single-digit percentages are quite prevalent, i.e. fewer than 10% of children can meet this literacy threshold. The measures we're using here are story reading fluency. We have a minimum of 45 correct words per minute, and comprehension, can they answer 3 or more questions out of 5. And the picture there is a sample of the classroom used in the way from this exact result, which is in Lwandi in Malawi. So when we started, we found that literacy including fluency, i.e. they could read a certain minimum number of words and read the story passage fast enough, was 7%. And again, this was in 3 mid-school grades. When we looked at the ability to read words with fluency and comprehension, we found the rate was 5%. So again, very, very low. Only 5% of children able to meet minimum literacy thresholds of actually being able to read and understand. The interim results we showed here, again, the pupils who had completed more than 4 modules. Was interim after 1 year, we saw a huge jump from 7% to 54%, and the comprehension had jumped from 5% to 37%. We would expect that to improve significantly when we go back and measure a year on, which we will be doing very, 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 very shortly. But that's a very short time to show a very significant improvement. And actually very few of the pupils tested had actually completed even the level 1 program at the time we did the follow-on test. And then just to complete the measure, we measured the average fluency of these same pupils, And at the baseline in 2018, it was 16 words a minute, and that had jumped to 51 words a minute. And it's interesting because we compared that, and that pretty much matched to some of the EGRA studies done as part of some very large-scale initiatives in Malawi. They also showed comprehension levels after their interventions of around 15 to 16 words per minute, whereas in this example we had actually raised the average above the minimum. So lastly, let's look at the impact of better reading on children and in their own words. And this was a project in Zimbabwe, the same one we've shown you the results from before. We went out and we interviewed 192 pupils, 220 teachers, 36 heads, to get their own personal feedback in their own words of what they saw as the impacts of happy readers and improved reading. And these are some of the examples of the comments we saw there, which you can read for yourself, but they all had common themes. They all mentioned improving English, better reading, writing, comprehension, and speaking. Many of the girls indicated they had more confidence in their ability because of their ability to read. They mentioned fluency and fun. They like reading. Many girls said it makes me happy. We also then saw from the heads reports of improved attendance and positive effects on the schoolwork and their improved sense of self-worth. There was a quote from one of the heads who said, "At first pupils lacked confidence, but now they are enjoying reading." And a comment from a teacher about a particular pupil said she was a non-reader, but is now in the top 20 pupils since she can read. And all of this is available in a report that's available on our website. So, to summarize the key takeaways from this session, Happy Readers is a structured, leveled reading program. It covers material from pre-reading right up to fluent reader in 4 levels, generally implemented 1 level per year. The materials provided are the key resource, and they're usable by trained and untrained teachers. Obviously going to be more effective with a trained teacher, but it is possible even untrained teachers can show results. We find from the feedback the children are drawn to the books. They want to read them and they get competitive. And this demand-led reading makes teaching much, much easier than trying to force a child to read. Very good social effects on attendance, pass rates, progression to good secondary schools. The theme stories address relevant social issues. And as we've seen from the results just now, it works. Even in the challenging rural African school environments in which we find ourselves working, and generally we work it over a 3 to 5 year project cycle. So thank you for paying attention. I hope I've given you an idea now of what the Happy Readers program is, both in terms of the materials, the content, the structure, how we implement it, and how it works. So the next presentation sections will focus on specifics of teacher training as to what's really inside and underneath. Thank you.